Welcome everybody to the financial year 2021 presentation. My name is Schuil, co-founder CEO of Safello, and I'm here joined by Johan Edin, our CFO. Welcome, Johan. How are you doing?
Thank you, Frank. Doing well.
Good. Just flew from Peru. How was the jungle? While I pull up this screen.
Jungle was fantastic, but let's get back to business.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. 2021 has been a pretty spectacular year for Safello. Starting before IPO with the acquisition of Rational Money AB, which is the company behind Bitcoin.se, the largest educational platform on cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin in Sweden, ranking on Google rankings in Sweden above pages like Wikipedia even. We've been integrating Bitcoin.se, working together with the founder, David Hedquist, to basically do a content integration as well into the mobile applications and other parts of the company. And we've been able to extend kind of the amount of authors that are working with us to produce content for Bitcoin.se. Great company and a great fit for Safello. Then we had the IPO in the second quarter. I guess enough has been said about that. It was a great effort for us by the team to get the company public. And of course, it's been a great learning curve for us to be a publicly traded company, both in the routines as well as in our communication to the public markets, of which this is another initiative to improve that. We also launched a Discord channel where you can directly engage with management and a wider segment of the team, as well as with other shareholders and Safello users. Then in Q3, we signed the agreement with Fireblocks, the leading infrastructure provider for custody, crypto custody. And we have then launched our Safello wallet on the back of that in Q4. But we also launched Safello subscription, and we launched multi-crypto in line with our promises in the prospectus. So there's some of the highlights of last year that resulted in growth. So we've been expanding our user base to now 250,000 users. That's an increase of 43% compared to where we were on December 2020. We've also now increased our total order count to 593,000 orders, which is over 107% increase from the year before. And our volume in total increased to 1.6 billion SEK, which is an increase of 90%. So that's cumulative data. And to put that in one graph, we always like to pull up this graph to show how explosive our growth has been since we really launched our sort of slimmed down, easy UI UX to the market with Swish and Bank ID. And then in conjunction to that, the API slash widget integration. And then we had integrated with several partners like Bitcoin.se at the time, which really catapulted our growth. And interestingly enough, that data I recommend to correlate to the crypto market. So we've in quite a few moments we've been outperforming the cryptocurrency market. So this growth has been uncorrelated to the overall market, and it was really about us finding the product market fit, and we've been able to continue that growth trajectory in 2021, of which we're obviously very proud. And this is kudos to the entire team that has almost tripled last year to make that a reality. And with that, for now, I'll hand it over to Johan, and then I'll come back with some show and tell on actually what we've been building for those who haven't been looking or using our products. So Johan, over to you.
Well, thank you, Frank. And I'm going to keep it quite brief, but I'll do a few comments on the financial performance. These numbers were published in the annual report that was released in the end of March. So, but just to sum up, fantastic year with 140% plus growth with regards to turnover to 758 million versus 315 last year or in 2020. The operating profit was a negative 14.7 million compared to a slight profit in 2020. This is largely due to non-recurring costs related to the IPO, as well as a marketing campaign that we did in Q4. And those two items are roughly 9 million in total. So adjusting for that, the EBITDA would look somewhat better. But as you know, we've also focused on building the team to increase our capabilities. And the team size grew from 10 persons at the year end of 2020 to 32 at the end of the year in 2021. So that's obviously driving the cost base a bit, but we hope it will pay off in the longer run. I think the key metric to keep an eye on, at least from my perspective, is the cash balance. Now, we had 34.6 million in cash balance at the end of the year, but that does not include the 10.1 million crypto held as a long-term investment on the balance sheet. That's also held at cost, should be said, which is basically still the true value. If you look at today's prices, we have a marginal profit today. But the total then at the year end, including that crypto, would be 45 million roughly. I think we will come back to this, and Frank will probably talk more about it, but the crypto as a service offering is where we see the opportunity for 2022 and onwards. And our primary focus going forward will be growth, both to retain and expand our market-leading position in Sweden and to capture the crypto as a service opportunity at an accelerated pace. So that would be the main comments. On the following slide, you just have the cash balance per quarter. We present this in conjunction with the Q4. So yes, we are burning cash, but I don't think it's at an alarming rate, and we are keeping a close eye on costs all the time. Next slide, please. So the P&L, I think it's just the key highlight here would be the 141% growth in turnover. Also looking at our revenue, which would be the net fee income, if you want to call it that, was also quite substantially higher at 36 million last year compared to around 16 in the year before.
Yeah, maybe describing the difference between turnover and merchandise, which may be confusing to some people who are tuning in.
Yeah, so the turnover is all the crypto that we, all the crypto orders that we execute and then sell from our own inventory, and that's just an accounting issue. Our actual income would be what we take in commission, and that's then typically a 5% fee. That would be the base fee.
Yeah. And that has an impact on accounting as well, on whether you have a brokerage model versus a peer-to-peer order book where the accounting is done differently. Correct, Johan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Moving on to the balance sheet, I think again it's mainly the cryptocurrency that is held on the balance sheet at cost. We would of course impairment test out if crypto was to drop substantially, but it wouldn't necessarily be written up in the same pace unless we see a long-term shift in sentiment. Similarly, cash and bank balances were 34.6 as previously commented, largely due to, of course, the IPO that took in gross around 40 million Swedish in May. Next slide, please. And the cash flow, not too much to comment on, but I guess it's worth noting that the cash flow from investment activities is largely then related to the 10.1 million that was invested into cryptocurrencies, and around 2 million cash related to Bitcoin.se, or Rational Money acquisition that was done in March. Yeah,
That's it?
I think that's it from me.
All right, so I can change the tunes here. Thank you, Johan. For those tuning in, if there's comments, feel free to leave them to leave comments, and we will have a Q&A at the end of this session. So we will address all questions that you may ask. For the Discord channel, I saw a question. People were asking where the Discord channel can be found. If you go to safello.com and you scroll all the way down, there are links to the Discord channel that you can find. In fact, I could show that to you directly here. I have it open. So let me see, Chrome tab. There we go. So this is our website. And just for that specific question, if you scroll all the way down, here we have our Discord channel link. So that will open up the Discord channel. I think we just hit 1,000 members there. And we also have a contest going on right now to predict the stock price at the 12th of May, which was our listing day. So whoever gets closest to the price that it will be on the 12th of May gets one of these hoodies, and I think a cap. I don't have a cap here with me to show, but it's a great cap to get all Safellified. I thought it, for those who are not necessarily familiar with our product offering, to show a demonstration of our mobile application, as well as then a little bit of website and the latest news coming back to what we're doing with the crypto as a service offering. I'll start with the mobile application, since we are now a mobile first company and we're thriving to first release things on mobile before we release it anywhere else. It's the best place to look at. Now I'm going to make sure that this is working. Let me make that. Always tricky with a mobile demo, but I'm going to figure it out. There we go. And this should hopefully be visible when I share it now. There we go. So for those who have iOS, you go to the App Store, and here you can see our rating. We were 4.6 rating from users using our application. So it's actually and that's on 643 reviews, which are from our users. We release actually very frequently new updates to the app. So in the latest application, the latest version that we just launched, 1.5.92, we added description to the content, which we just launched, content integration, and some general bug fixes. So and what's interesting to look at, and from a sort of performance point of view, is to look at where we are ranking in the top 100 apps. So we're in the finance, not as we're talking live now, on the 44th position. I think this weekend we were within the close to 30, and we're the highest ranked, and also the only app. Well, not the only one, but we're basically we're the highest ranked one in the App Store when it comes to Sweden-based apps. The ones above us, the competitors here are the international platforms, like, for instance, Crypto.com. Here you see it, Binance and Coinbase. So that gives you a little bit of perspective of how we rank in Sweden versus the leading international platforms. And of course, the key differentiator that we have is that we have Bank ID and Swish, which is the preferred option, and of course the banking rails in Sweden, where we're working with a top 4 bank in Sweden. I'm sorry, this disconnected because I was opening the app, but I'll try to fix that real quick and then show you an actual demo of the application. I think it's my cable that might be the culprit here. 1 second. There we go. Don't follow me, technology. Operation could not be completed. Great. Crashing. All right, even better. Demo devil, as we used to call it when we were doing presentations at events, or at least when I used to do them in the past. New movie recording. There we go. 1 second. unless my whole computer crashes, then in that case, we're going to move on with our lives. But I'll try it one more time here, and I connect it here. Okay. This is completely failing. No, yes, no, yes. Wow. Okay, well, that's sad. Okay, well, it stopped working, I'm afraid. Next time it was working the whole time, except for now. Well, then I'll show you the web app, which I think we can log in as well. I'll do one more quick attempt here, not to waste anyone's time. 1 second. One last attempt, otherwise we'll move to the... now it's working again. Okay. Yes, sorry. And I will share the screen here. Move recording. Okay. There we go. No, it's again not working. I'm sorry about that. My apologies. It's always when you least want it that it starts failing. Okay, never mind that. Sorry about that. I will share my regular interface then. I recommend everybody try it out, particularly our content section that just came live. Oh, Matt, you have it ready? The mobile application. Can you share? Oh, here you go. Matt, our hero in the background, sorts it out. Thank you, Matt. So yeah, this is the mobile application, and I think the most important part here that we just released is the integration with the content. So we have a lot of great content that we have both on Bitcoin.se that has been there for a long time, but has been expanded on with the different authors that I just mentioned. But we also have a Consensus Podder that we sponsor, which I think is now in the top 4 of financial podcasts in Sweden, or at least it was recently when I looked at it, which interviews leading people in the crypto space in Swedish. And then we have, of course, our Safello show as well, which we do in English, where, most recently we talked to Nicholas from Fireblocks, we talked to Norstake. It's a combination of international companies as well as local Nordic companies that we've been talking to, as well as just general events like the Ukrainian Russia war and what impact that has on geopolitics. So please have a look at all the content there. And then we have the markets, so you can look at the market tab and look at the prices. So these are the cryptocurrencies that we offer in the mobile application: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, Polygon, and Polkadot. This is Bitcoins, and then you can, of course, directly purchase it, which is on the Handla. My Swedish is not, perfect. And next week on the Safello show, we have Swarm Markets. Matt reminds me of. So for those who are interested, Swarm Markets is going to be next week. I think Matt is logging into the app. And this is then the functionality to purchase. Once, I guess you're trying to log in with Bank ID there. And then we can store cryptocurrency as well in case the demo devil is acting up again. And we recently have integrated a dark mode in the settings as well. We got a often request for people that are late night traders to do it via a dark mode. So that's been. Do you got it up, Matt? Yeah, there you go. So this is the you can buy, sell, and you can also send in and receive crypto. And of course, that's an important part. There's been recent debate on a regulatory level, the markets in crypto assets regulation that's coming in the EU, where there's been the push from certain parties to prohibit unhosted wallets, which effectively means that you wouldn't be able to take your crypto out of the platform. And for us at Safello, that's a very principal difference between crypto versus what the financial system is today, to be able to freely move those funds to your own custody. So we have that functionality, and we're also defending that quite actively on a regulatory level. So this week we co-signed a letter that went to the 27 ministries of finance We're also heading, that's a separate regulatory effort, the task force on sanctions, which I think you can show a bit later. So here's the dark mode. So it's all the same functionality. Maybe we can quickly show the wallet if you're willing to show it, Matt. Oh, yes. Here you have an overview of your portfolio aggregated in SEC and how it's been performing over time. And then you can look at the different cryptocurrencies, in this case 3. And then if you go to your account settings, you can also look at the dark mode, and you can find the Discord link. So if you're not finding it on our website, you can also quickly find the Discord link through app. So, super simple, but important information. And also the Declarera app tab that we just launched. We did an integration with Diffly, the one of the leading tax platforms in Sweden, and also we're integrated with Coinly to be able to more conveniently file your taxes. So this partnership with Diffly has been a really nice integration also to our APIs, which is part of the crypto as a service effort that we're going for, where they have been able to really streamline that process. So you have the data that you can get from Safello, and then you can automatically do your see what your tax declaration at Diffly. So I recommend everybody to try it out here. I'll show it on the website as well, where you can have a look at that. And a good reminder that we did an episode with one of the founders and CEO, Carl, on the Safello show. So if you'd like to learn more about how the taxation works, then that's a very interesting episode to have a look at. So I think that's where we can leave it for the app. But we're constantly updating and adding new functionality. We also listen to user feedback. So again, in the Discord channel, please have a look if you have any suggestions or feedback how we can further improve. Then I'll go back to where are we now? The Chrome tab, the website. So just to highlight, so this is the landing page. When you go to products, you see here that we have the same on the web, the wallet, the subscription service, which basically puts up a recurring purchase monthly or whatever the time interval is for a certain amount. So this was an often requested feature from our users to be able to not have to go in proactively themselves to buy or sell or buy cryptocurrency, but instead have it as an automatic savings plans monthly. A part of your salary goes into crypto. And in that way, you can sort of dollar cost average your purchase over time. Then we have the business section, which I will click soon. But just to come back to taxes, so this is the tax website, and this is Diffly, and you can follow the procedure here. And there's also our connection to Coinly. So for those who are now looking at tax season, this is where I would recommend to go. We launched then really quickly the donation page for the Ukraine. We've got quite a few donations that were sent in from quite a few users. It's an effort we continue to support, and it comes back to our earlier days, I think in 2014, where we had donation pages live. So it's going back to our roots in a way with supporting charities. Then Safello Business, this is for business customers. So today, if you're a business, you have a company through which you want to buy or sell cryptocurrency, you can go to this website, do an application, a quick survey here, and we'll be able to onboard you depending on your volume requirement and your obviously your geographical base. We're serving Swedish companies today only. And then you're able to purchase crypto with your company, which is often the case even for people who have their own holding company, a convenient way to do so. Then I wanted to show the support for those. That's maybe less interesting. I'll skip it, but for those who are using our service, then I wanted to go to our investor page. So for those who are interested in the Safello stock, which I presume listening into this video is the main reason why you're listening to the show today. Here's all the information about the company. We have all the financial reports here, of course. We have information about the share, about our governance, For those who are interested, you can still find all the information about our IPO and obviously revisit our prospectus and see what parts we've been focusing on. On that note, I think the most interesting part, the deviation, if you will, from what we mainly focused on in the perspective has been the crypto as a service that Johan also alluded to. Now, it was already in the prospectus under Safello partners. So we had already Safello partners where we integrate with third parties to be able to offer buying and selling functionality. And as I mentioned, Bitcoin.dz was one of the leading ones of that service that allowed us to actually have it as a user acquisition channel, which ultimately led to the acquisition of Bitcoin.dz. But we also had Edge Wallet, Mycelium, Opera, the web browser, and a bunch of smaller other players as well integrated into that. So we have quite a bit of a history already of this kind of integration. There was an earlier iteration as well of an API that we had at that time. So that's essentially what we're reviving, but then on obviously on a different scale and towards financial institutions, which is, if we go to the press releases, was what the recent LOI that we signed with Avanza was about, in order to really boost that offering to crypto as a service offering. So we're at an LOI stage. Needless to say, I can't say much about the progress of the discussions, but we're obviously working on the LOI to commercial terms. So this will be the leading theme for 2022 as we see it. The historical context, or like the context for that opportunity, is the MiCA regulation. Again, that stands for Markets in Crypto Assets. That is going to adoption, which effectively means that within 2 years, there's a clear licensing structure across Europe that is passportable to all jurisdictions in Europe, that will significantly streamline the ability for companies like us to internationalize, but it will increase also the competition European-wide and provides a clear legal framework for financial institutions, existing financial institutions, to also interact with cryptocurrency companies. And as a result of that, we believe, and we've seen that in other jurisdictions already happening, financial institutions will get demand from their customer base to support crypto products. And if we're talking about the European market, we see over 6,000 banks in Europe that currently, the vast majority have no crypto services, of course, but also the vast majority have not actually built up any of the expertise within the organization to be able to do it, let alone the technology and the processes around it to handle it. So that's where this approach and this market opportunity that we see becomes the focus area for Safello, to take all that experience that we have for 250,000 users in a market environment over a long extended period of time, and be able to leverage that and enable financial institutions to leverage that to offer crypto capabilities to their end users. So we're very excited about it, and as the year goes by, we hope to have more announcement around this track, and we're looking to launch, of course, a dedicated page for this on the Safello website as well, to provide more clarity to financial institutions and how they can work with us. In the meantime, feel free to reach out if you're a financial institution looking to provide cryptocurrency services. So I think that's the main thing. I don't want to ramble too much. All the press releases are here over the last year. You can see everything we've done. Financial calendar. The next report is upcoming on the 13th of May. So that's it for me for today. And maybe with that we go to questions. There are quite a few I see. Let's pull them up. Can you elaborate some more on the LOI with Avanza? Yeah, so I did that a little bit. Well, I think there's actually quite, as opposed to listening to us about the LOI, I think it's interesting to listen to some of the interviews the CEO of Avanza gave on Dagens Industrie, as well as some of the statements they made. So I can put it in perspective of the Nordic landscape, which has been overwhelmingly negative on the cryptocurrency market, and it's really seen no adoption on an institutional level. And I think our agreement or like LOI with Avanza is at least a sign of the time that it is finally changing. And for a company like Avanza, it's great to see that they go where the market requires them to go and what the customer demand is. Of course, they have already the ability for their end users to trade with cryptocurrency certificates, with the certificates from companies like CoinShares. So they have insight into the trading volume today, so they can measure up what the demand is. Well, it's great to see these first steps for the Nordic market for financial institutions to step in. And we think it's a great opportunity for us to move into a B2B segment where we think there's a huge opportunity again of what I just described with the crypto as a service offering, where the ability to do this in a regulated, compliant way, to have regulated custody, to have the actual end data and experience over as many years as we have, looking at all the hacking attack vectors, as well as sort of the phishing attempts, and be able to have a hardened system is something that they're obviously looking to leverage, where we are their partner to de-risk their own institution. So hopefully that answers to your question. Otherwise we can come back to it. Next question. Could you talk a little bit about how the political debate and legislative turns in the EU and political developments and potentially darker clouds? You mentioned unhosted wallet previously. So interestingly enough, until kind of recently, the EU was in a way on the forefront of the regulatory progress, because they had already drafted the MiCA regulation, the markets in crypto assets, whereas the sentiment, for instance, in the UK and the US was relatively negative. And of course, China has banned it entirely. But then we recently saw an executive order by Biden to spearhead kind of the fostering of an innovative cryptocurrency climate and supportive climate for the cryptocurrency industry, which has really started to change the sentiment in the United States. And then we saw more recently the same kind of from the UK that also had a statement about them wanting to foster an innovative climate for the cryptocurrency industry, as well as that I think the Bank of England wanted to do their own NFT, which is a fun gimmick, I would say. But it's a sign of the times that the UK is actually positioning themselves separately from the EU quite clearly now, and is embracing cryptocurrency as an opportunity for them to stay relevant as a financial hub. On the EU level, what we're seeing, however, with MiCA is that as it goes through the council and through the voting, that there's been attempts on 3 dimensions, at least 2 confirmed dimensions, to sort of hinder actually the ability for the crypto industry to flourish. The first one is on the proof of work side of things, where there's been an effort to ban proof of work, which effectively means banning Bitcoin, which is entirely based on the proof of work algorithm. And the arguments are the energy argument that has been debunked for over and over again. That one didn't pass, but a weaker version of that writing has made its way to a part of the vote, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not entirely flushed out, and there's still the concerns of that, that energy use is still being pushed into the legislative writing. But I don't think it actually will end up with a proof of work ban. The other part has been more hostile. It's towards unhosted wallets, where I think the requirements that they were looking at any amount above $1,000, if I'm not mistaken, in assets, would automatically require KYC on unhosted wallets. And that is very prohibitive of the crypto market as a whole, especially when you look at DeFi applications and their ability to just foster innovation and to move at speed. If all those customers then need to KYC themselves, with their unhosted wallets, it goes against like financial privacy. It goes against a whole bunch of other things, and it's a little bit misguided because even like when you convert it to regular cash, for instance, if you're selling crypto, there's no hiding those funds anyway. So there's no real benefit of already doing the KYC on the unhosted wallets. It's more like when you try to sell it for crypto, for fiat currency, you will touch the regulated environment like Safello. But it will be, I think, more of a challenge. So that's what the letter has been about. That's been drafted and was signed this week by the industry. We were one of the signatories. You can see, on my Twitter, I suppose, twitter.com/Frank Schuil, I posted the signatories there, and there's a thread there on the letter. And I think that we're not at the end of that yet, but the first vote was actually in favor of that clause. And the third dimension that I think we're hearing might come up is that they're looking to prohibit staking on as well as part of the MiCA regulation. But I don't know the final details of that. So then we would have to have our chief compliance officer on, who has more insight into it. But obviously, if staking gets banned, then that's another commercial hindrance in terms of competing with the existing financial system, where you obviously have no interest rate, whereas yield is being provided in staking today, and they're generating quite good returns for people. So it's a great incentive for people to move into the crypto market. Okay, that was a long answer, sorry, but we'll get through it. Question 2. 4.26 rating is great. What are the main issues today that users point out? And are these issues in the roadmap to be fixed? Okay. I guess I'll take this one to Johan. I think the overall feedback has been very positive. I think the main thing that we get as feedback is, of course, more pairs, the ability to hold fiat funds, right, which I think goes more into kind of order book exchange. So there are some obvious things that we already know that users want, and they tell us that they want it. And they're kind of big pieces of development. So if you want to do an order book, there are different ways of doing it, and it changes quite a bit the model. Then there's functionality that obviously we've disclosed in the past that is on a roadmap, like things like staking, things like swapping. Those are kind of obvious things that people want. Maybe support for NFTs. So they're just natural progressions of the product. And as people hopefully have been seeing over the last year, we are very quick with our innovation, and we invest heavily in innovation and to have quick iterations around our mobile application, what we can offer. Whereas, of course, a big portion of our focus is right now on also making sure that the crypto as a service offering is onto par. The interesting thing, how we develop that, however, is that we our own platform will be connected to the crypto as a service as well, which means that like everything we're building, the financial institutions will be built itself, and it means that it's always in the production environment that the financial institutions will use, which is great to have that overlap. Hopefully that will answer that one. What are the largest improvements you've done in 2021 and Q1 2022 to the app? Have you noticed an increase in users reading up on crypto as there is an easy access information? But one of the biggest thing is the integration of content with the new panel. However, we just launched it, so it's too early to comment on the actual data around that. I do think that in the ranking in the App Store, which is publicly available for everybody to follow, I think we've been inching up. We're getting up higher. Now that could also be in light of a seeming clampdown on international exchanges that are not regulated in Sweden. We saw the notice of Binance that has been announcing that they're going to enter Sweden. But what most people missed there is that they actually announced to all their users that they're going to discontinue a whole bunch of products, and that they had to take their money off their exchange, I think, within 90 days. So we've seen messages from users receiving this, Swedish customers specifically. So there might be a bit of a clamp down on our competitors, which gives us a stronger position as a Sweden regulated entity, which might also be the reason why we're increasing on the App Store ranking. I went through the largest improvements, I think, in 2021. It's the biggest one, I think, as terms of development and how you set it up with the treasury is of course the wallet and the regulated custody that we can now provide, where we are the only ones who are able to provide that in Sweden, which is in our opinion a strategic advantage. I hope if you have follow-on questions, please send it. Oh, Mark is on a roll here. Could you talk a little bit about the LOI? What is your medium to long-term vision? How important is this kind of recognition? Yeah, I think I commented on it already. It is crucially important to move forward the debate in the Nordics particularly, and also change. And we are like, okay, what I can say, and I think we can say that without giving away anything, is that this LOI as such has already started to shift the sentiment in Sweden, particularly around cryptocurrency. So with the financial institutions, so it has started to move the sentiment in a positive direction. Of course, MiCA, MiCA is a clear path for financial institutions to build their strategy and have a plan of what they want to do. But this validation from the market that a bank like Avanza is looking to move into this space has a strong signaling value. All right, next one. Unless you wanted to add anything to that, Johan.
No, I fully agree with you, Frank, and I think it's about a little bit proof of concept first, right, and then expanding to additional institutions and potentially jurisdictions in due course. But we're taking it one step at a time.
Yes, Rome wasn't built in a day. What's your view of Binance entering Sweden? I think I commented it on partly. I think the other part of the Binance, what most people also don't understand is like Binance, Crypto.com, Coinbase, and that's why I showed the App Store. They have been competing with Safello already, right? So there's this notion that the international platforms are going to move in and take over. That's not quite the reality. There's both customer preference and there's customer loyalty, and like we've seen historically in the data, for instance, as an example, that in users that signed up in 2013, 14, 15, 16, that we had potentially seen as churned, they returned in 2017 when there was a bull market. That loyalty, that customer loyalty, as well as the lifetime, and we're looking at lifetime value of a customer, in our view, is only extended when you are also having an offering of storing their cryptocurrency assets with the wallet, with the Fireblocks infrastructure that we have. So the switching cost is actually higher, as well as the competition has always been there. It's just more for us. We interpret the Binance entrance quite the opposite way. We think that the regulators have finally clamped down on their sort of inhabited way of just marketing against the Swedish market, particularly Crypto.com. We've seen directly targeting Swedish customers, even on our keyword. If you search Safello on the App Store, which goes against what you're obviously allowed to do when you're not locally regulated. So those are things that we hope will make the competition actually fairer, and is actually an advantage to us that have been locally regulated, doing things here in Sweden by the book. So yeah, we actually welcome what's happening now in the landscape. And Binance, interestingly, so far is then the only one who announced that they will localize their service for Sweden, meaning that their user base and users that they have today is important enough to their bottom line to continue in the Swedish market. Johan, anything for you to add?
No.
Okay. Good questions, Mark. On a roll. Crypto as a service. Could you elaborate on what you want to create here? What kind of service do you see spawn from this initiative? As at its essence, it's really bringing the entire product offering of Safello to financial institutions. So as I said, like we're going to develop against those APIs as well. So everything we're offering, a financial institution will be able to offer, and it will be different degrees of what a financial institution would want to do themselves, what they want to work with for Safello. I think the general risk off approach is now quite high, and it will continue to be so until MiCA comes into effect. So there it's perfectly, whether it's custody, whether it's buying, selling functionality, whether it's even content that we could potentially provide through those APIs as well. We're not going to limit that. So the retail application at a minimum is going to be a playground for the innovation that can ultimately feed into the financial institutions. So yeah, and we actually see a much wider potential than just the banks or the trading platforms in that, where that could go into other sectors and capital that is today not able to move into crypto. Any addition for you, Johan?
No, it's a rapidly developing market, and opportunities seem to arise left, right, and center. Some of them, of course, do not materialize as well.
Yeah. Have you seen users starting to adapt to subscription feature? Well, I guess like if there's one sort of not super positive note on everything else that I think has been very positive for Safello and our development over the last year, is that the subscription service has not taken off in the way that we had hoped for. And the primary reason for that is, it's pretty lame to blame the financial sector, but the open banking infrastructure has not really been helpful, to say the least. So we had certain banks that were just simply not available to us via the open banking rails. So I think there's a lot to be improved there. At the same time, we need to look at like where we put our priorities. So we haven't invested more until we see some maturity on the open banking rails there through our partner. That we like, it's not their fault. It's actually the end APIs from the banks that they receive, but they need to mature a little bit better and be more consistent and be able to offer to all for anyone with all major banks. In order to make that service a bit more convenient for the end customer. If that is the case, then I think there's a lot of interesting things one can do with that subscription model that we haven't explored yet. So I'm still hopeful, but it's not been the take-up that we wished with the subscription model. Any other questions? Okay. Anything else? I'm looking in the thread. Okay, Mark thanks us. You're welcome, Mark. Good questions. And if there's anything else here, I'm checking. 1 second. That's it. Johan, any other parting thoughts?
No, looking forward to the Q1 report, as Mark said. I guess we have the AGM next week as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I believe 2021 was an amazing year for Safello, and I believe 2021 could be way more exciting. So look forward to keeping everybody informed, and please join our Discord if you have any follow-on questions, and we can answer it there. See you next time. Thanks.